Good evening. The school committee business meeting of December 12th, 2022 will now come to order. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
It's me. Sorry, it's okay. Member Banks?
Present.
Member Keegan? Present. Member Nicholson? Member DiZoglio?
Present.
Member Santos? Not here. I am here. Mayor Perry?
Present. Thank you. So our agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Thank you all. The ayes have it, and the amended agenda is approved. Now, I think I need to follow it up with, no, I don't, sorry, I'm talking to myself. All right, Superintendent, can you please introduce our student for tonight's flag salute?
Sure. I'd like to call Amanda Goyer-Langus up to the podium. She's the lower school associate principal at the Tenney Grammar School. And our flag salute student, Christy Jo Saint. Hope I said that correctly. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight with me is Christy Josant. She's a fourth grade student in Mrs. DiBenedetto's class at the Tenney Grammar School. And joining us tonight is her mom, Ketty, and her sister, Kate Leah, and her other sister, Macaria, who are both students at the Tenney. Christy's favorite class is ELA. She loves ELA because she loves reading. She loves to read books, especially Ramona Quimby books by Beverly Cleary. Christy says she likes to read because you get to go into another world. She also likes attending all of her specials. Her mother reports that she loves to paint and color. Christy says that her proudest accomplishment this year is mastering 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication. Her mom says that if Christy thinks she can do something, she'll always give it a try. Positive attitude were recently recognized by Mrs. DiBenedetto. Christy was nominated as a Tenney Star for the month of November. Mrs. DiBenedetto states that Christy models the Tenney Rocks behavior. She shows respect in the classroom toward her teachers and peers. She is one of the most cooperative students. She gets along with others, and no matter who she is partnered with, Christy will work diligently and cooperatively to complete the task. She takes ownership for her work and finishes all of her assignments. Her kindness towards others does not go unnoticed. Christy's mom agrees. She stated that Christy is a very respectful, quiet, disciplined, and good listener. She follows the rules without any issues and is a great helper who loves to socialize. Christy says a good friend is someone who is kind and caring and does not leave anyone out. Exactly the type of friend Christy is here at the Tenney. At home, Christy loves to spend time with her family, including her sisters, her cousin Bradley, and her cat Safari. Her favorite thing to do with her family is to cook and bake in the kitchen. She loves Twix bars, and her favorite color is purple. Recently, Christy joined Legends Gym and takes gymnastics lessons. Her favorite events to practice are the beams, bars, and vault. In the future, Christy would like to become a doctor or a gymnastic coach. With her determination and positive attitude, we believe Christy will accomplish great things. Her mom states, "I pray to God for her to stay positive for the rest of her life. We're really proud of her. The Tenney is to Christy because you rock." If you could please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job.
Thank you.
I did a loop-de-loop, yeah. Superintendent, would you please introduce our Soar Award recipient tonight?
Yes, I would like to call up Roger Lenfest and the Soar Award winner for tonight, Juliana Sismadia. I believe Brendan Cripps is also here if he would like to come. Not sure which one's going to read it. Brendan's going to read it? Okay. Mr. Cripps is going to read it for tonight.
The History and Social Science Department is extremely proud to announce Juliana Louise Sismadia as our SOAR Award recipient. Juliana has a passion for history, and her passion for the subject is infectious. Several of her classmates credited her enthusiasm with helping them to get through AP US History. Juliana has excelled in each of her history and social studies courses, resulting in her teachers nominating her to represent Methuen High at the 2022 Massachusetts Girls State Leadership Conference. Throughout her 4 years, Juliana has maintained an overall 4.49 GPA and a 4.76 GPA in her history and social studies courses. Juliana's positive attitude and her ability to motivate others led her team to earn a top award in the state for community activism and change at the Generation Citizen Massachusetts Civics Day. Juliana exhibits all of the qualities we hope to see in our graduates: an inquisitive mind, a desire to always do better, and a compassion for those around her. We are honored to award Juliana this year's SOAR Award.
I just wanted to say thank you to all my teachers and my family for supporting me throughout my school years.
Okay, Selma, do you have anything to feed the committee?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say another congrats to Juliana. She's a classmate of mine, and she definitely deserves such a high award and high praise for her hard work. Yeah, and we'll also be having some student council members that will be speaking on the pep rally and other events going on in the school.
Excellent. Thank you, Selma. All right, does the Student Advisory Committee have any updates for the school committee? I got a thumbs up from Callie. Let's go. Come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Torres, and I'm a senior at Methuen High School. On October 29th, Methuen High had a homecoming dance. It was very successful and had over 600 attendees. Our student council did an amazing job with decorations and ticket sales. We also ran elections for the homecoming queen and king for each grade. These students had a beautiful grand entrance during the dance. We are grateful that 600 students showed up. Students had such a great time and had so many positive things to say about the dance. Being that this was the first homecoming dance since the pandemic, it drew in a very large crowd. Even as the weekend passed, the dance was still the topic of discussion at the school. Students can't wait for the next one, and thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nick Karen, and I'm a junior at Methuen High School. I'd like to inform all of you of the community service efforts that our National Honor Society has been involved in with the last year. Firstly, the annual NHS induction ceremony held on November 9th welcomed 56 new students into their ranks. National Honor Society has been lucky enough to be a part of making homemade masks to deliver to the grammar schools in Methuen, tutoring peers, planning and organizing food and clothing drives for the less fortunate, writing letters and cards for patients at Boston's Children's Hospital, St. Jude's, and the Nevins Nursing Home, and cleaning up MHS student parking lot. One of the biggest projects that NHS has conducted last year was selling Yuta bands, which are environmentally friendly bracelets made in Guatemala by local artists to help promote fair trade and funding of scholarships for disadvantaged students in other countries. 180 of these bands were sold, and the profits were used to help sponsor the education of a young woman who lives in Zimbabwe. This is just a handful of some of the work that NHS has been part of, and we hope to continue and provide for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Good evening. My name is Callie Delano, and I am in 12th grade at Methuen High School. On November 23rd, MHS hosted its first indoor pep rally since 2019. Students spent our Spirit Week participating in Spirit Days and creating posters after school for the student section. Each day, students with the most spirit were placed into an entry-to-win Ranger hoodies supplied by the Student Council. These Spirit Days included New England Sports Day, Neon Day, Decades Day, College Day, and Blue and White Day. Seniors won the best student section at the pep rally, which was decked out in a blackout theme. Freshmen had a gray theme, sophomores had a white theme, and juniors had a blue theme. The spirit was at an all-time high. People could barely hear over the cheers of the students representing their grades in the hula hoop relay, tug of war, half-court shot, potato sack race, and turkey toss. The staff even got in on the fun when they beat the sophomores in the tug of war. It was truly an amazing experience to be back in that gym for a pep rally. Students were able to fully reconnect with their grade, which is something that was lost during the pandemic. Seniors reflected on their last indoor pep rally from their freshman year and reported a sense of belonging. We also had an ecstatic time after winning the entire event. MHS students are so thankful for our staff and administrators who allowed us to be excused from classes to enjoy a day of school spirit. Seniors are certainly sad to have missed out on 2 years of amusement, but we are so grateful to have events like these back for our last year at MHS. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you for those updates. All right, has anybody signed up for public participation? No? Is there anybody that would like to participate in public participation? I'll take that as a no. Yes. Just a reminder that you can come to the meeting and participate in public participation. You have to state your name and address for the record, and you're allowed to address the committee. We highly encourage that here. Our meeting schedules are posted, so follow that. At this time, we will close the public participation part of the meeting and move on to the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of November 28th, 2022 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Member DeZoglio, seconded by Member Pesh. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have to do a roll call vote, Mayor.
Oh, thank you. Yep, we should do a roll call. Madam Secretary, thank you for keeping me awake.
Member Keegan?
Yes.
Member Banks?
Yes.
Member Nicholson? Not present. Member DeZoglio?
Yes.
Member Santos? Not present. I am a yes. Mayor Perry?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. And thank you for keeping me honest. Moving on to staff reports. Superintendent, do you have any updates for the committee?
One of the things I did put in your packet that I mentioned at the last meeting, but I told you we would have some estimate numbers about what the increase would be, is here. So the out-of-district potential increase of 14%. So what you have is the attached letter from OSD, and they are the ones who sort of put the ceiling, if you would, on how private special education schools, or how much they can raise their tuitions each year. So approximately 1.5 million increase just if the private schools go up that much. That is a one-time, right, contractual obligation. So just gives us an understanding of what that would mean. There is a lot of conversation right now with our groups, the MASS, looking at this and moving forward with some advocacy for this 14% being just too large of a increase for districts to handle in one school year. So I'll keep you posted. We'll certainly plan for it, but hopes that over the course of the next several months, there might be some changes to this. So this is not including, I wrote in the little narrative there, this is not including students that we have at collaboratives. Those are very different schools. Those are, you join collaboratives. We're part of Crest Collaborative. So those schools function a little differently than private day schools do, or residential schools, and they are run very much like a public school. They have a board, they have member districts, they have to follow much of the same legislation as we do in a public setting. So just a little bit of a different organization. And right now, Crest has said to the board that they do not believe they're going to be raising their tuition much beyond 2%, which is what we would expect. So I'll also keep you posted on that one, but we'll plan for it. This is a huge increase, a one-time increase for many districts. So again, just wanted to add it here. I said I would actually have a number, so this is the number projecting out as well. Students who are graduating out, I asked Ms. Bozak to, right, so this is projecting for FY24. So kids who are graduating out of private schools and any projections we may have at this point going into private schools. So best estimate that we could give right now, if there are any questions about that.
Any questions from the committee? Member Pesh?
I think I know the answer to this, but with all the talks of Branch Street and moving here and there, whatever, if rooms open up, I know we did this in the past, but are we looking at any groups of particular students that we can move in-house?
So we are not at this point, partly because what I'm hoping for Branch Street is that it allows us to grow, because our preschool numbers continue to grow. So it would make me very nervous if we actually brought whole programs back, unless they were of pre-school aged or post-school aged. So I can have preschool kids away from their peers, and I can have 18 to 22-year-olds away from their high school age peers, but I couldn't have necessarily other kids if it was an in-school program.
I mean, and obviously, the only reason I'm asking is I know we did this years ago, but if we can move any program in-house, I mean, the savings are phenomenal. And these numbers scare me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So-
we don't disagree. It's definitely something that Ms. Bozak and I have been speaking about a lot, but we are probably at a point where we are at maximum capacity in some of our in-house programs at this point, just with staffing and our ability to educate some of the sub-separate students. So we always look at bringing them back when we can, so will still be part of our conversation.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yep.
I
Member
just want to
Keegan.
add that it's not as easy to just bring kids back in as they have stay put rights into the private day schools that they're in. And so unless the family wants to come back, we can't just take them back.
So I didn't mean bring them into like gen ed.
No, I know, we can't bring them back in district without the family agreeing to it. That's just the way special ed law
So how did
works.
we do it in the past? If we offer services here, it was my understanding that we could have them here.
Sure, so it'd be part of the team process. So through like a team meeting with parents and the school at a district, staff would be there as well. If we were able to now provide education in Methuen. So when we were building our current ASD program, that's exactly how that conversation went. So we
Sure.
were able to provide parents with the opportunity to make that move back to the district.
So to Member Keegan's point, though, just for clarification from my own knowledge, so if at some point down the line we were able to offer the same service
Yep.
of something that is being provided now to an out-of-district school. If we could bring them in and the parents so chose to keep them there, would that cost be on the parents?
No.
We would have to pay.
We would
That's
likely,
interesting.
that's a situation that would likely, an IEP would not get signed, so the stay put order would be in place, which is what Member Keegan was just talking about. And it would go to something called mediation, and you would work with the state to go through a process to come to an agreement.
So when we bring them in, I'm assuming we speak to parents first.
Of course.
Okay.
It has to be a team decision.
Sure.
Some parents really want their kids back here, and some have the specialized services at the day schools that are working, obviously, for the students. So whenever we have those situations, it's got to be a decision of the team. And we do bring kids back and forth.
And we did. Years ago, I
absolutely have.
remember we brought some back, and I remember the savings.
Yeah,
which is
and
why
every
I
year
brought
we
this
bring
up.
kids back, right? Our goal is to get them closer and closer to general education. So we do, at team meetings when we're out of district, Danielle Dillman is our out of district coordinator. So she participates in all the out of district meetings. So those happen, and our whole goal is to bring kids back into our community and their neighborhood and with their peers. And we do that every year, right? So we have an ebb and flow of students that come back and students that we just don't have the capacity to service here anymore. So definitely always the open conversation of that is the goal.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I had one question. So,
Sure.
and I meant to email you, so I apologize. I don't want to put you guys, so this goes to who. So as I looked at the worksheet that OSD compiled, in addition to personnel and fringe and all those normal things and administrative expenses and administration, there's a factor at the bottom called workforce stability factor that's 8.82%. Does anybody know what that is? And I don't want to hit you cold turkey, so I just ask you to go check that with
Sure.
OSD, because, I mean, clearly it's an additive, but to me, if you're already charging administrative expenses and fringe and overhead, things like that, Ian, so what is that? Is that recruitment or, you know?
Yeah, we'll definitely.
It's just kind of a weird category
Yes,
to me,
I will
right?
definitely ask. Again,
Thank you.
there was a meeting this week that I attended, and this was a pretty hot topic for our MASS group to go lobby against,
Appreciate it.
going up to 14%.
Thank you.
So,
And again, my apologies.
yeah, no.
Anything else from the committee? Okay. Moving on. Is there anything else you had an update on, Superintendent
No, I
Foynova?
think that'll do it for
thank you.
today. Yeah, we'll move any conversation about the lunch program
That's
to
one
the
Member
January
Santos
meeting.
and Ms. Freddie here. Yep,
Yep.
appreciate that. Okay, does the committee have any questions on the residency memo? That's on page 14 of your packet. Any questions there? Let me just say for the record, the October, November, it says, if you look at them, 17 were withdrawn from the district. That's pretty darn good if you ask me. Right?
And
I mean, in the fiscal sense, right? I don't want me to be hurtful. Go ahead.
so I was going to say, in addition to, I was looking at the number of pending, or very
Yeah.
few, which is good. They made their way through quite a few.
Right, right.
I think at this point, I believe we're all caught up. We are still, I actually should have updated, but just to add, we're still working with the Days In to register families and students. So as you can imagine, it still hasn't been quite that easy. So we still have some families and students that are working through their way through our registration process.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring that up, because I'm gonna want some of those numbers from you when they're available, obviously, for obvious reasons, so, I don't wanna say we're continuing the dialogue, so we met with, DHCD and CTI the other day, and I wanna say this, so CTI is the contracted agency from Chelmsford that is managing the folks at the Days Inn. My understanding is the Days Inn is now 80% filled with, homeless individuals, so it more or less has become a shelter. And so the city's taking a hard look as, does that constitute additional efforts? Because there have been some efforts on the city side as well. Inspection, police have started to increase their visits to the site, and so we've had a frank discussion with them, but predominantly the student side, the expenses associated there, right? So,
I think the harder part is the numbers that we've been given from DHCD are not
yeah,
even close
right,
to what we're actually.
yeah.
They're off a little bit, so we're working through that. I will make sure that once we do have
Yep.
some concrete numbers, probably after the holiday.
Right.
Those are the numbers I need to submit to DESI as well,
Yep.
so. Keep you all
And this is, so we, like I said, we met with them, and my apologies, I should have included you, Friday, and I think the number's up to 75 families, or more, right? And so that's the numbers we know of,
Right.
right? So continues to be frustrating, but we are working on that, so thank you.
Yep.
Anything else from the committee? Member DeZoglio?
Just a quick question with you, Mr. Mayor. So what was the families prior to this? When we first had this discussion of the days in, how many families were we told that were there?
So I want to be careful, yeah.
Yeah,
First, second, and next, I mean, we were told that there were 55 families when
Right.
they arrived, which was close. But then we had another like 15 families and then another 17 families.
yeah.
So it really has just sort of every few weeks, we are getting word that there are more families.
Right.
And it's just, we've had a hard time. I mean, we were actually partnering, and Mr. Lucier was talking to the folks on the ground. Do we need to get Chromebooks up there to help people do the online registration and just get that process happening and have it be accessible to everybody? But the folks at the Days Inn were not making that the Days Inn people, not the people working with the families, didn't make that very easy for us to actually get in the facility. And so that was difficult. So we're just communicating with the folks who are on the ground at the Days Inn. There's actually a group there who are in the Days Inn working with the families that we're just trying to communicate to, who needs language testing, who doesn't, who needs transportation. It's just really complicated for them to try to get the information from the families as well. If they're coming from a district in Massachusetts, there's a different process that Ms. Bozak has to go through. If they're within a certain mileage away from where they're staying now, it's an automatic register, or automatic they stay where they are. So it's a lot of staff resources at this point to make sure that we have all the kids where they're supposed to be. The schools have been great. They are, I think I shared this before, they're going between the CGS, if they're new to the country, for language testing, CGS, the Marsh, and the high school. They're pretty spread out, so we haven't seen yet, like an influx at a certain grade level in a certain school that we haven't been able to handle. I think that's a fair statement, right, Mr. Noble? So that's been helpful for us, for busing and for classrooms. So we're just keeping a careful eye, and we have a very detailed spreadsheet we are all sharing, again, that I have been asked to keep for reasons for DESI purposes, because we will hopefully be getting some funding, and we'll have to provide backup and data, start dates, transportation, things like that, to get those funds. So
I agree with everything you
kind of
said
in the
except
middle
the
of it.
hopefully. I
What's
agree
that?
with everything you said except the hopefully. We will be getting funding, or the mayor's
Okay.
going to have a temper tantrum like you wouldn't believe. So the other thing is, I just want to caution, because everything you said was right, 55, 15, 17, but it's not straight math, because some families have been placed.
Have left, right.
Right? So some people are there and get moved, and we've also had 2 significant fires in the city of Methuen, where we've had some of those families placed at the Days Inn as well, right? What is important to understand in this is that the hotel is 80% occupied now. There are no occupants other than the sheltered folks, right? And so the purpose of the meeting of the mayor's office with CTI Friday was, who's running the show? Because the schools should not have to be expending all this effort, or the inspectional services, or the police, when you've got program management on site, right? They should be providing the schools, we have this many residents, this many families, this many children, this is their grade, right? So we've expressed that to them right up front, right? So, more to come on that,
Yes.
trust me. More to come. Okay. Any other questions for the superintendent? All right, thank you. Moving on. Superintendent, can you please give the committee your update on the staff report?
So I think, sorry for the small font, just realized how small that is.
Yeah.
But we added a couple things based on comments from the last meeting. So if you look what Colleen did, you can see the dates on the top now, right? So we said last time was kind of a baseline, now we're gonna do month to month. And then next month, we will be able to do a trend, right? So we put a couple extra columns there so you can see sort of where we were as of November, and now we can do just November to December, December to January. I think that gives us a better snapshot, which is how I believe the committee, yes, I'm seeing some nods, so that's great. So Colleen will keep this updated month to month at this point, right? So while we might have different positions filled, so you can see we are filling some, right? We're continuously trying to fill program assistants, teaching positions. Unfortunately, we continue to have resignations as well, as you can see. And I do mean this for a vast variety of reasons, but they are coming more during the school year than it feels like it, than we've seen in the past. That's something Colleen and I wanted to actually look if, because we're so in tune with staffing, because we are short-staffed in so many areas, do we just feel it more at this point? And is it really off or happening at a different pace than it would during a typical school year? But that's where we are. So I hope this makes sense, and if this feels good, then we'll continue this each month, and next month we'll be able to see a trend, right? Like an up arrow, down arrow, equal sign, right? So that was kind of how we visualized going forward, so you could see if there's trends in resignations or hiring areas. So if this feels right, we'll continue with this. If there are any other recommendations or requests.
Yeah, I'll start the ball while they're looking by saying thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you, guys. I think it's great. When you look at the last section, which is the district-wide, it really gives you a great idea of the amount of churn,
Mhm.
right? You have to go through in a normal school year. That's a lot, right? 75 resigned or non-renewed from July 22 to October 22. That's a big number.
Yep.
Right? So appreciate you providing this. Any other questions from the committee? Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Yep.
There is no old business or pending matters, so the next is new business. May I have a motion to open the K through 8 student handbook for the first read revision of the section titled Suspension/Due Process in According with Mass General Law, Chapter 37H, 3/4.
So moved.
Motion by Member DiZoglio,
Second.
seconded by Member Pesh. Any discussion? Member Keegan.
I am all for this change. I think it is a really great change, getting away from suspensions and trying to keep the kids in the house, and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So this is, and I hope, we haven't always done some of our changes like this, but I hope it makes sense. It's easy to see with the red line, with the strikeout and the new language like we do sometimes with contract negotiations. But the law changed, so 37, I have to do this, so I should have prefaced it by this. This had to change, and it had to change now. 37H and a half, 37H and 3/4. The law changed in November, so this was our first opportunity to change it to require this work being done. I think the one good thing that after meeting with our team and doing a lot of work with Mr. Crocker and talking to our attorneys, we do a lot of this work, and it helps us move forward with the collaborative problem solving that we're moving forward with. We have some great PD happening in January for that. So it really, we're in the right mind frame to continue this work and really think about other ways and other, consequences, opportunities for kids. I have to say it's brought up some really good conversation amongst the principals and with me when we have situations to really say, does this infraction warrant pulling out of school, right? That's really what we're thinking about. And we do think about that frequently, but especially at a younger age, right? We don't have a lot of other opportunities at the grammar schools for detention, Saturday detentions, right? We've put those things in place at the high school, so we don't always have to pull kids out of an academic classroom to give them some of those opportunities at a different time and a different way. So we are brainstorming some things too. You might see things come across, trying some things at the grammar schools, after school, formalized after school detention, so kids aren't getting suspended, but actually doing different work during that time, right? How do you process with kids to change behavior? That's what really we're focused on. We have been sort of all along and focused on that processing with kids, right? Doesn't necessarily change behavior if we're not working with the kids to help them change that behavior.
Any other questions? All right, I think we need to go to a roll call vote.
Yes, Mayor.
I'm sorry?
I said yes.
Yeah, I got that one right tonight?
I'm on my toes now.
Yeah.
Member Keegan?
Yes.
Member Banks?
Yes.
Member Santos is not here. Member Nicholson, not here. Member DeZoglio?
Yes.
I am a yes. And Mayor Perry?
Yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, may I have a motion to open the 9 through 12 student handbook for the first revision of a section titled Suspension/Due Process in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 37H, 3/4.
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Member Banks, seconded by Member DeZoglio. Discussion. Carbon copy, right?
Yes.
All right. Roll call vote?
Thank you. Member Keegan?
Yes.
Member Banks?
Yes.
Member Santos is not present. Member Nicholson, not present. Member DeZoglio?
Yes.
I am a yes. And Mayor Perry?
Yes. Thank you. Passes unanimously, 5-0 with 2 absent.
And just for the committee, we believe this is the right thing to do, so then second read, then we'll
Right.
close the handbook motion
Yep.
when we do a second read in January. So that went a lot smoother than the last time we tried to do that.
Okay. That takes
Thank
us
you
on.
for that.
Oh, thank you. Moving on to finance and operations, we go into my favorite part, the expenditure reports. May I have a motion to approve the transfer of $54,000 from professional salaries to clerical salaries?
So moved.
Moved by Member Keegan, I think, or Member
Second.
Banks. Moved by Member Keegan, seconded by Member Banks. Thank you, ladies. Discussion.
Ian, if you can explain why we're doing this again, I just have it up.
We've had some illnesses that we need to cover for that we did not anticipate. So in order to cover those positions for the remainder of the year, as well as pay their sick time while they're out, that's the short
I
story.
guess what he's asking is we're not creating new positions, right? So
No.
I get that we're underrunning our professional salaries, that is clear, it's, in the staff report, it helps there.
Yeah.
On the clerical side, we're not hiring any additional that we didn't budget, right?
No, these are just
New
substitutes.
positions.
Yeah, temporary positions.
I think that's where you were going, right? Yep.
I can't do that. So
I
I
know.
cannot add new positions until the school committee approves a new position. So these are only for substituting when folks are out sick and I need to put in a long-term sub or, Yep.
No, I figured that was the case. I just wanted the public to know.
Yeah, no, this
why-
is-
Yep.
What is going on.
of course.
What is going on? Literally. Okay, so the motion on the floor is to approve the transfer of $54,000 from professional salaries to clerical salaries. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Thank you. It carries unanimously 5-0. With 2 absences. Okay. Any other questions on the expenditure report? I will remain quiet this month. Our revolving funds reports. Does the committee have any questions?
I do.
Member Keegan.
This is just a clerical sort of thing. But the CGS reads differently than the other 3 schools for the class ofs. And so it appears, the other schools say MHS.
You're
class.
you're a step ahead of us.
Oh, I thought you
We're
said
on
that.
the- yeah, we're on the-
We're not on student activities
Oh,
accounts,
sorry.
but I will address that.
Yeah.
We do have new monitors of the accounts, and I'll make sure that they're all uniform moving forward.
Just have the names the same so
Yep.
that we.
Yep, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yep, no problem.
It's A-okay. And I would note that sometime shortly here in the near future, we'll all be on one financial system.
Yep.
So they will all be similar in nature. city and schools.
And a couple things in the revolving account I will point out. We did get our first installment from Circuit Breaker
Saw that.
to the tune of about $1.7 million. Ice rink, we're in a good place. We do have a vacancy. We'd had 2 interviews today to fill that vacancy. But we look like we're in good shape on the ice rink at this time.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions on the revolving reports? If not, let's move on. The grants reports. Any questions on the grants reports this month?
So we don't have grants reports in here this month, so we
Oh.
apologize for that. I shouldn't have put that in there.
That's all right.
Our grants management specialist is unfortunately out right now, so Mr. Noble will have both November and December at the January business meeting.
Got it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for that.
That's okay. Moving on to the student activity reports. Something tells me Member Keegan will have a question.
I'll make sure that they're all uniform.
Can you just name the class of
Yep.
all the same?
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions on the student activity reports? Before we move on to the mayor's favorite, the food services report? And that's no baloney. Yeah. Any questions on the food services report?
I just have one thing.
Please.
I am still getting complaints that 3 chicken nuggets and 6 fries is not enough food. So I just want to put it out there because I promised the boys that I would mention it.
So we can, when Mr. Frady comes in January,
Okay.
we can give him like that as a topic, just to talk.
Perfect.
The idea is that he's here to speak informally with all of you,
Right.
you know, from Ms. Santos's point of view from last time. You know, we can prep him for that. and
Okay.
if
So
he can
3
respond
chicken
to that.
nuggets, 6 French fries. Is it the exact number of things that are on the kids' plates at the high school?
Yeah.
And they are very upset about it.
Right. But it's also gonna, right, and I do know, I think I know what his answer is gonna be, but it's gonna be very measured because it's all subsidized lunch, right? So, but we can have that conversation with them about how we do that, how we move forward.
Just promise them that I would.
I 100% understand, so yes,
So if they're watching, I have some senior boys.
we want more food on our plates. Yep, I understand. I will prep him for that one.
So I don't want to put you on the spot again, but when we get to the bottom of the students that are coming from the days in, so one of the things that came to the city was there was a short period at least where the children were not being provided breakfast, which they had been receiving breakfast, lunch, dinner. And then there was a COVID outbreak, which we have not been able to ascertain whether it's 2 or 15 people at the hotel,
Right,
which caused the management to restrict the residents to their rooms.
yep.
And what was reported to the city was that no breakfast was being provided to the students before they went to school. Would they be eligible for the,
Of course, every
Yeah.
student in the entire district gets
wanted you to
free
say that for the
breakfast and
public,
free
yeah.
lunch. So, and actually, Mr. Frady and I were just talking about, for the Tenny and Timony, he's received some new, for some grant funds, some new grab-and-go carts that can
Yeah.
actually live at the doors, which right now the kids do have to get it from the cafeteria, and then they can go on their way once they pick up their breakfast. But every student in this district can get a free breakfast and a free lunch every single day. So yes,
Thank
we
you.
will have food for everybody.
appreciate that?
Yep.
Any other questions on food services? I will not ask when bologna is being served. And let me, for the record, state, this is the first school committee meeting in quite some time where Member Pesh has not inquired on the ice rink. So I think we,
I will say she prepped me prior to make sure that I talked about it, because she wasn't gonna be able to ask.
yeah, history. History making,
Yeah,
history-making session here. Okay. Moving on. Okay, let's go to the contract approval. May I have a motion to approve the contract for Frank Lucia and Son Incorporated Snow Plowing Removal Services FY 22-23?
So moved.
Member Keegan, sorry, when it comes to that side, I'm very slow. Member Keegan, seconded by Member Banks. It sounds like you're talking as one over here, so Member Keegan Banks said no. Any discussion? The only thing I had is the thing, I'm
Gonna say
gonna
we
hand
had
out
that
some
comps.
stuff from the IG's office. It says, I'm gonna vote for this, but next year, I'm forewarning, I won't unless we go out to bid. I know the city sets the rates. I'm gonna pass this to the committee members. This is an advisory from the IG's office, sorry, that talks about, while snow plowing is exempt from Chapter 30B, it's considered a best practice for the jurisdiction to use a 30B process to extent for exempt services like snow plowing or engineering, to ensure a fair, open, and competitive process. So next year, I would respectfully ask that we work with our new expanded procurement department and bid it out. Right?
Mr. Mayor, so we, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So we didn't put this out to bid, so,
Not required to.
And the city sets the rates.
yeah.
So I just had this conversation with the mayor earlier that the city and the school together, next year, will make an effort to go out to bid
Correct.
together and see how it fleshes out.
Correct. So we set the rates for plowing, but technically, we should go out to rebid at least once every 5 years or so, right? So, to make sure we're getting the best deal possible. I can tell you, the rates are competitive. There are cities that pay higher than Methuen, much higher. We're technically in good position. I hate to bring this up the day after yesterday, but we're in good position from a plowing standpoint, as long as the forecast is right.
I was gonna say, you just jinxed us, Mayor, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So the item on the floor is to approve the contract for Frank DeLucia and Son for snow plowing and removal services FY 22-23. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ooh, that was a little delayed.
Come on.
No, it does not require roll call.
Yeah, no, it's
No.
not required.
It does not require roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Thank you. Now we have to go to a roll call because we have to do the roll call because you had to know.
You know, I just deleted it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My apologies.
Okay. Member Keegan?
Yes.
Member Banks?
Yes.
Member Santos is not present. Member Nicholson is not present. Member DeZaglia?
I respectfully say nay.
I am a yes. And Mayor Perry?
Yes. Motion carries 4-1, thank you. Member DeZaglia voting against, and Member Santos and Nicholson absent. Okay, moving on to notifications of appointments and other personnel matters. There are none. Moving on to business from the committee. Is there any residency subcommittee update?
Not at this time, Mayor.
All right. Is there any other business from the committee? This is staggering. None? All right. Therefore, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn this business meeting of December 12th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Member Zoglio, seconded by Member Keegan. I got that right, thank you. And this is roll call vote.
Thank you, Mayor. Member Keegan?
Yes.
Sorry, my mic. Member Keegan was a yes. Member Banks?
Yes.
Member Santos is not present. Member Nicholson is not present. Member DeZoglio?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Positive.
I'm a yes. Mayor Perry?
Yes. And that passes unanimously and unbelievably. This meeting is adjourned at 7:22 PM.
Good night,
Thank
Methuen.
That was the fastest school committee meeting ever.